Hello, good evening, my loyal Cosimaniacs. Well, right now it's the 6th of April. Tomorrow will be the 7th of April, Machine Day, the 41st anniversary of my first radionic box, and actually one of the devices I have here. Now, you're probably wondering what all this is. This is old school psionics. This is stuff I worked with in the very first days. What we have here, well, you know what this is. The very first psionic amplifier. I'll put this here out of the way. I have here a small amplifier. I got this when I was 12 years old. And it basically was a little tape recorder. And it was not cheap in those days. I think this thing was actually like $60, believe it or not. It had, if you look, 4 whole transistors. It was really something. Well, the first portable tape recorders. Back in the days when people used tape recorders. I remember 4 years later when I got my big reel-to-reel machine. You know, I mean, things were big back then. They were made, built. The amplifier, even though this thing stopped working as a tape recorder like maybe 10 years later, the amplifier still worked perfectly. And I did all sorts of experiments just using that amplifier. This get it right here. It's hard to tell against the backdrop. Let me put my hand here. This is the antenna. This is an antenna, directional antenna. And it's kind of a fun little gadget. The thing this is all put together around, believe it or not, was a vodka bottle. One of my mother's many empty vodka bottles. If I needed an empty vodka bottle, my mother was more than willing to provide it. All she had to do was buy one and just stick a straw in it and drink it. The less said of my mother, the better. The better for hell that hath her. Anyway, and so I took this thing and I wrapped wire around it. It's all speaker wire wrapped under it. There's a magnet strip here, magnet strip around the end here. This is a Cameron cone, this whole thing here. See, I put my hand behind it so it shows. In the 1950s, I believe, I'm not exactly sure on the years right now, but there was a dowser named Vern Cameron. And Vern Cameron did a lot of it, like all dowsers in that period. It was just something they did. Did experiments with shapes to see what they would do. I have no idea why they did this, but they did. And unlike pyramids, where you have, if you hold the pyramid, pendulum over a pyramid, it goes one way, and you hold the pyramid, pendulum under a pyramid, it goes the other way. If you hold a pyramid under the cone, it doesn't do anything. Zilchoid. You hold it over the pyramid, and you get a spiral. I mean, not the pyramid. Over the cone. Do this right, Chuck. Over the cone, you get a spiral. But here's the thing. If you hold the cone on its side, like so. Let me get an angle right here on the camera. What you get is the pendulum. Why do I keep saying pyramid? The pendulum will go in a straight line. Like that. Quite interesting. For people who are into dowsing and energy flow and things like that. That's really quite interesting. Because what that means, any energy you put into this cone, it's going to go straight out. All you need is a way to use it. Hence this. So I got to work and I built this thing. I wrapped it in the wire, wrapped it in electric tape, which is what this black stuff is, and added a pistol grip. Okay, that was the antenna. I'm going to unplug it here for a second. The plug looks kind of funny because this was put on a 1/4-inch plug, which we used back then. And then to put into something like this or the helmet, they had these adapters. I've got a lot of these things, these adapters laying around from that. Slap it on. Put this directly into the helmet. Put on the helmet. Aim. You must buy my books. You must buy my books. And basically aim at the target, whichever, like the neighbors or something, and just think. And anything I would think, if I concentrated properly and wasn't trying to do a video, which we didn't have back then, well, they had the capacity, but the equipment was primitive. I mean, camcorders were just being invented at that time. You didn't really have home video equipment in those days. But anyway, you aim at that thing, and it would down the wire and round, round, and round, and it shoots out here. And that was great fun. That was great fun. You could make people itch really good with it, or sneeze, or get, well, excited in various parts of their anatomy. Okay, so let's make this thing work a little better. And to do that, we took the amplifier. And I'm working sideways here. Isn't that wonderful? And the furnace just turned off. Maybe you'll be able to hear me. And then this goes into here. This is a typical Uncle Chucky electrician's nightmare tangled wire mess. Okay? So we get that straight. Then we have the various knobs. Okay, this is set to go, so that what comes in here comes out there. There's the volume control. I just cranked it. No, you could actually set that as sort of a primitive rate, but just crank it. And then turn it on. Hold. Aim. And think. And anything you plot into this thing would come shooting out like a gun. Because it is a ray gun. It's a psionic ray gun. Should have a little buzzer or something to go with it. Well, with that you could do anything you wanted. And you didn't only have to set it, name it, and get out of this, all this stuff. Oh boy. That gets uncomfortable after a while. I don't know. You didn't have to aim it directly at your target, of course. You could aim it in the general direction of the target and visualize. Or if you had a witness sample, like a photograph of the target, you simply aimed it between her legs and let nature take its course. That was always fun. Especially if she had no idea it was coming. As we all know in psionics, consent is for sissies. But you didn't even have to hold it. Just aim it One of the beauties of this thing is you can just stand it up, just stand it up. Put the helmet on, turn the amplifier on, and think. This acts as an antenna. You can send, with this thing, you could send directed energy to the whole world if you wanted. Not a problem. You want to cause an earthquake somewhere, you hook this up, you visualize, either bring up a picture of the target area and where the fault line is. Google's wonderful for that stuff. You can find even better stuff on the dark web, I'm told. More detailed. Or just, and like I say, just aim at the fault line, or some particularly obnoxious person in one of these social media things. You get their picture and make all sorts of terrible things happen to them. Or things that are great fun to other people, but they don't want it. But too bad for them, like consent is for sissies. And that's all you needed to do. You didn't need a lot of dials and gewgaws. This is very simple. What this is, I later realized, and he later realized actually when we were talking about it, this was the wishing machine, a variant on the wishing machine. Instead of the copper plate going into the amplifier, the helmet, direct connection. Instead of an ordinary antenna, we have this internally amplified, psychically amplified antenna. And it worked really well. Very simple device. Very simple device to use. And I think, well, like I say, I built this helmet, but not the helmet, I built this antenna the night after I built my first radionic box. So this is 41 years old tomorrow. And I had this already prepared. That's how we did it in those days. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy this. Instead of my usual, well, we got this new gadget to buy, spend money. Something more, well, just for the fun of it. Just for the good, evil fun of it. And it was really easy to build. And so, have a good April. This is your old friend, the nefarious, arch-fiend, agent of the Antichrist himself, Uncle Chucky. Have thyself a happy machine day.